evening, everyone. This is Tala with Drive-thru Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on another episode. And as always, I'm grateful for your support and for the shares that you guys continue to do and the emails. You guys, thank you for sending me the emails, suggesting the topics and letting me know a little bit about your journeys and the information that has helped you along the way so I can do more of it. It's always good to know. And you guys always inspire me to come up with other topics and to go further and beyond what I just normally do or what I'm comfortable doing. So thank you again for being my biggest teachers. So today's topic is really a topic that's been brewing in my mind for the past few days. I keep wanting to go and record it, but then I look at my chair like, I'll just do it later. Because I wanted to approach this topic in a way where I have the ideas down so I don't confuse you. Plus, this is a great episode for you to play over and over again until you learn the skill I'm about to teach today. And until you're convinced in your subconscious that this is how I want to deal with this problem in my life today. So, just to introduce it a little bit, this is about how to deal with difficult people. We are all going to meet difficult people. And it is very common for me as a human being to encounter that situation. I've had such a history with learning a lot how to deal with difficult people. And I'm going to tell you how I learned it. And I don't think it's ended. I still have to continue to learn from people that I meet that I may not somehow agree with, or somehow I feel some kind of offense towards, or some kind of negative response to. I am always doing work on that, and I'm always taking responsibility for that, which makes it very easy for me to deal with difficult people because I am extra self-aware when I'm dealing with difficult people. I'm not aware of their behavior. I'm usually aware of mine now, which helps me out. So today I'm gonna really want to talk you through how to deal with difficult people for once and for all, because they're our biggest teachers in life. And once you learn how to do that, you'll be able to deal with situations without making them worse. And you will not find any human being and anything that's coming out of their mouth, emotionally speaking, verbally speaking, going to be a threat to you. So I hope that makes sense. I'm very serious about this. You guys are going to love this or hate this, but I'm taking a risk, and I hope that you guys find this a shortcut, because it is, to really dealing with difficult people. And if you know someone that needs it, just send it to them. There's no way you can offend them by sending them this thing. I think they'd thank you, probably, because it's going to be useful. And if it's not useful, that's okay. Maybe come back to it later. Maybe you'll like it better at a different time, because sometimes we could evolve or start being open to different thoughts or different ideas that maybe we were not open to before or did not connect with before. So I'm not saying that this is going to be just the right way to do it, but it is an effective way to do it. And I've gathered this information not just from my own experiences, but from the spiritual experiences of and teachings of others. And so in no way do I take credit for all of that. I'm just giving you the information in a way where you're going to remember it. That's the best way to say it. And then the rest is up to your subconscious brain to have the permission to change it. So I only can do this much, and you do the rest. All right, let's get started. So first of all, I want to begin by helping you understand and really solidifying it in your mind that if you have trouble with difficult people and you tend to get into arguments, you tend to be frustrated emotionally speaking, you're investing in it, and you sometimes respond in a way where you don't end up liking yourself for it later, all of those things just indicate that we are somehow struggling with the act of humility. This is really important for you to know, because I did not connect these two until recently, and they make a big difference. And what I mean by these two, I mean dealing with difficult people and humility. There's a big strong correlation between the two. The way to define humility I'm going to use Webster's dictionary definition, which states that humility is a modest opinion or estimate of one's own importance or rank. So another way, humility is about not thinking you're always the most important, the most valued beliefs, the most superior in thoughts and morality. The thing is, this does not allow flexibility. It just makes us kind of rigid, and you are at risk of finding opposition. Because if I am thinking my beliefs are superior, or that my thoughts are superior, and the way I do stuff is superior, I'm going to try to convince you, basically. I lack humility. I'm so damn important. What you say is not important, and eventually I'm going to attempt to convince you or judge you, whichever. But that's what I want to kind of describe to you, is that there would be no difficult person, basically, if I practiced humility. So let me explain. Life's major struggles are always about showing us where we need humility. In fact, if you think about it, most of the conflict that we have is not physical with other people. It's an inner conflict, if you think about it. I'm not really getting beaten up by someone. Nobody's really physically bullying me. A lot of the times, it's just other people's words, beliefs, or thoughts that are in conflict with mine. So it's pretty interesting. Sometimes I'm looking outside of me and I'm saying that this person is difficult. I'm saying this person is inflexible. They're rigid. They're all these things. But in fact, I'm looking at, it's just basically a mirror of myself. I'm able to see all those things in that person because, in fact, I am that person. It gets really good. So just hold on, okay? I know some of you are like, what? That is not true. But think about it. Most of the time when we are offended or when we are threatened by other people, it is not a physical threat. So we know that we are struggling because life is pushing us to practice humility. It is helping us come to terms with the lessons that we have to learn, and in understanding how our emotions play a big part of how we look at people. Our beliefs and what we think and what we feel plays a big part in how we look and judge people. So we blame other people for how we feel and how we're offended and how we're threatened, which doesn't make sense. I'm the one producing all the chemistry. How can I be blaming them? But yet we do it so freely, so easily. We cross that line every day. And it keeps us further and further away from practicing humility. Hubert Benoit, a French doctor who studied and practiced Zen, he says that life struggles are always pushing us into practicing humility. And he also says that, quote unquote, that I begin to see that all my negative states are basically humiliations. And up to this point, I have taken the steps to give them other names. And that's pretty important, you guys. This is a very important and useful way to think about life's struggles. Is just a negative experiences is basically they're forcing us to seek humility. And it's so important because eventually what we want to see is that the ego becomes a hindrance to dealing with problems. I become a difficult person, fighting other people, who's right, who's wrong. I'm basically an ego fighting another ego. There's no sense of equality. It's all about superiority. There's no peace in that situation. There's no sense of inner peace or serenity. We are exhausted by that point. And many people who disagree with us or disagree with our ego will be a threat. That would be everybody, right? So humility allows us to reflect on ourselves, to take responsibility for my own offense, to take responsibility for my own feelings, my negative states, and not impose them on other people, not act a fool because I felt humiliated. Rather, it's asking me to self-reflect, to go within when I feel offended or humiliated, and to look at what this life situation is teaching me about myself and what lesson I have to learn, mostly in humility. Again, like Dr. Benoit says, that basically we'll call it other things, but in fact, all of it is just a lack of humility. All our little offenses, all our little life struggles is a lack of humility. It also becomes a problem because when I want to solve my problem, that causes me to have more problems, and it's usually has a lot to do with my pride. My pride and ego, I'm going to use them basically synonymously because they mean the same to me. So for the purpose of this episode, that's how I'm going to do it. In case I go back and forth, it's the same thing to me. Eventually, when I'm no longer ruled by my pride or my ego, my need to be right, then I'm going to be safe around other people because I'm safe within myself. There's no more inner conflict. I'm not struggling anymore, needing to be right or prove something or work out issues and impose them on other people because I have baggage. I'm basically safe within, and I have no other choice but to give the safety outside as well when difficult people are around me. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today. I just want to kind of explain that to you. But to get it even more solid in your brain, less hidden, I want to make sure that we shed some light on what we call pride, or those negative experiences that are supposed to teach us humility, that we call different names. So these are some of the names that we call them. Number one, it's the need to be right. And usually you'll see us convincing other people or attempting to convince other people and need their validation. We think our way is the right way and their way is not. Even if that is true, in the schema of things, we still don't really know if my way is the right way. It's really, it almost discounts the fact that you have no control over what this person believes or thinks. You're in delusion land, thinking that you somehow can convince this other person to believe what you think is right. You're not taking into consideration that what's in front of you took years in the making, and you have nothing to do with it. All you're doing is listening to it. Okay? So that's the one thing that that's the one way that pride hides. The second way is when an insecurity is pointed out by someone or by a situation. So if somebody gives me feedback and I read the feedback and it points out something that I'm insecure about and I get offended, I will then start to blame them for it. I will start making excuses for it, but all in fact keeping me away from just looking at the insecurity that I have about whatever this person pointed out. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. They are not pushing buttons. They're not intentionally doing anything. All they're doing is they happen to get a good guess of what your insecurity is. Or sometimes that's not even their intention at all. I'm saying they're simply stating something that they observed, and they could be right. And this shows up mostly at work, I think. Well, no, I'll say it's even with people that we love, our family as well, friends. It's an insecurity that could be, like, for example, a boss giving me feedback about something and they're stating facts, but yet my mind is running with another scenario. Like, it's starting to compare me to another person. Like, why are you talking to me about this? I'm not talking to so-and-so about this. So-and-so did this. I'm not taking responsibility for anything that this person was pointing out with their feedback. The thing is, I love their feedback today. I love when somebody gives me feedback. Even if I'm offended, I don't have to react on it. I will quickly go within and think about what is it that they showed me? What insecurity did they point out? And can I go ahead and fix it? Is there something I could take responsibility for? So I love it when I get feedback that I try to work on only hearing what they're telling me, not all the other fancy shit that I'm coming up with in my mind. Okay? Because all that other extra stuff, I'm already crossing lines. I'm talking all sorts of filth in my head. I'm going to get angry at this point. I might argue with this person even if what they're telling me is a fact, which a lot of times it's a fact. Hey, Tala, you didn't do this report on time. Sure, I didn't do it. You are absolutely right. I did not do it on time. And if my mind goes to, well, so-and-so didn't do it either, and you know what? You come to work late. The hell are you telling me for? Right? Any variations of that is nonsense. It just doesn't spiritually and mentally help us evolve. And we need to practice humility. And today, we just take the feedback. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. The third way that we might call prideful would be the superiority in beliefs, and this could be in politics, in religion, in values and morals. Quite often I hear this with political situations or with factual situations that people alter to please their own agenda. And you'll see this, for example, in the news. People talk about the different reasons people commit just horrendous crimes, and they come up with their own reasons of why this person would do that. And depending on what your belief system and what your politics are, what your gender is, what your race is, you're going to come up with a truth of what the situation means, what this event, this horrendous event means. I'm not saying that they're not going to be true or a truth, but they're not the truth. And when we talk about stuff in this obsolete way of making it the truth, and that's why people, this guy or this girl did this horrendous thing, and describe, for example, basically, if I'm describing a racist person by being racist, I ain't doing much. I ain't doing much. If I'm describing another angry person by being angry myself and angry at them, I'm not doing much. I'm really not bettering the world. I'm really not making the world a better place, and I'm most certainly calling this other person difficult or calling this other person terrible, but I'm just as terrible because I am imposing my beliefs of why they do the things that they do, and I'm using my own truth and I'm calling that the truth, which it is not. I'm just giving back to that person what they were giving out. I hope that makes sense. And we do this so subtly, and sometimes not so subtly. Sometimes in the news and in the media, people will take a very strong, for example, racist stance by saying that by claiming that a person is racist or a community or an agency is racist. But in fact, they're just as racist, if you think about it, for saying that another person is racist. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. They're saying it like it's a truth, right? But it is a truth, but it's not the truth. And in no way do I claim that I know the intentions of a person, nor do I dignify it by saying, yeah, look at this racist person and they're after my people. They're after my people. And I guess in my head, I'm not sounding like a racist because I'm calling him the racist. He's the bad person. But what does that make me? I'm just as difficult of a person as the person I am pointing at. So practice the humility. Put the pride. We want to eliminate it to achieve humility and success. To never think anybody or anything a threat. People are going to do what they want to do, and we have to accept that. Unfortunately, that's part of free will. When I start saying, I know who I am, and I have this firm identity, and I have this firm belief system, I'm becoming superior in beliefs. I'm becoming exactly what I'm pointing out in another person, the inflexibility I'm pointing out in another person. And I don't want us to fall into that hole. It isn't real. It's delusional, and in no way does it elevate the human spirit. Again, if you cannot describe a person's judgments and anger without being angry, then hold back. Sit still. If you can't describe another person's racism without being racist yourself, hold back. We're not doing anything better here. We want to elevate our human spirits. We want to evolve. We want to contribute to our world around us. And with our negativity, all we're doing is becoming the difficult person we need to deal with first. One can empathize. I'm not excluding myself from the bunch, my friends. I'm telling you what's going on within me and the hard lessons I had to learn. I'm giving you the shortcuts here. I want you to not have to climb that mountain if you don't need to. If you already know, hey, yeah, I do have this issue within me that I might call other people something and I judge them, but in fact, I'm the one producing that judgment on them, and it's not making me any better. Okay, so just be careful with that. You are really going to be upping your humility and inner peace. Imagine when you don't have this filth running in your mind, you would have quietness. Come on. Win-win situation here. So if I'm not responsible for any event or another person's behavior, I most certainly am going to stay from verbalizing a judgment about them. It's just, I'm not responsible for that. Why would I keep claiming somehow I have a superior belief that outdoes your belief about this person or this situation? Like, there's no need to argue on this one. Again, it's so interesting that everything that points out about difficult people is really my response to them that makes them difficult. It's not that they are difficult on their own. I'm difficult right back. If you notice, that's what we're describing pride here as. All right. Let me see. Do I have a final one on how to describe? I have like 7 more. Okay. I'm sorry, not 7 more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have 3 more on describing pride. We're going on 22 minutes, friends. Tala's on fire. Okay. So this next one on identifying pride and what it looks like within us is the judgments of other people. And I've already kind of discussed that a little bit before, so I'm just going to skip that one because it's judging other people's judgments, right? So other people have a judgment, a racist judgment, a political judgment, whatever, an opinion about something, and I'm judging their opinion. Like, this is a fight back and forth. Somehow I'm more superior, and I gotta let you know. That's what it looks like. We can glorify it a little bit in our mind, so we think we are more entitled to our opinion. But the people in front of us are not entitled to theirs. So that's interesting. Like, my opinion is superior than your opinion, and we're both going to be loud about it. Again, does not uplift the human spirit. We are not getting rid of difficult people as long as we are difficult and as long as we don't practice humility. If pride takes over and we're not eliminating that shit, we are going to be in danger of messing up our own internal well-being, as well as our interaction with others. We're not going to allow forgiveness to come in. So the next one is, when it deals with pride and what it looks like, is difficulty taking responsibility and blaming others for how you feel. Like I said before with the example at work, my boss could give me feedback and the feedback is a fact, but then I'll come up with all these opinions and I'll start blaming and shifting blame and whatever. And it's going to go with the next one, which is I'll start predicting what others feel and think, their intentions. Well, I know her. That's why she did what she did, or he did what he did. I know him, or I know her. And the truth is, people's intentions, even if you're a good guesser, you cannot feel what they're feeling. And so ego makes you think that you know, but humility does not allow you to be offended by another person's feelings and thoughts. You don't even step in there because you know damn well that you don't belong anywhere in that neighborhood. You don't know what people are thinking and feeling and their intentions, but apparently you seem to think that you do. And so that will come up with more misunderstandings and just trouble, friends. All right. So now we're going to come up with the strategies of how to handle this difficult person, which I hope you found out that it starts with you. If you're looking at your world and perceiving that this person is a difficult person or this is a difficult situation, you're the one looking at it. So my money is on you to change. And then what you'll see will change. Okay? So this is how we're going to do it. I wrote down some steps that had worked for me. And I promise you, if you practice them consistently, you will get it. And I mean consistently. When you're aware and when you are experiencing these negative events and you do what I'm asking you to do here, you will eventually make it as a part of your life, as a part of your conditioned response. You will not think any person ever a threat or a breach in your sense of security or self-esteem. You will be truly independent emotionally of anyone else that comes along. So that's good news. That's really where emotional instability comes from. Difficulty in coping and difficulty in solving problems comes from. It's just our inability to just sit the hell back and practice a whole boatload of humility. I mean, it's the cure for dealing with difficult people. Really, there's no fight. You're disarming them. But we'll talk about that. So the first thing I want you to do, and this is something that I really need you to practice, is when you start feeling this intense feeling in your chest of being offended or coming up with a fabulous judgment about the situation or the person that you're looking at, you're starting to call them names in your head. You've lost your mind. already it's gone too far, and there's a small little second, if you're not compulsive, there's a small little second that between your thoughts and what comes out of your mouth, there's a small little pause. But sometimes we don't have that pause. We feel, and right away, because we feel, we think that feeling is a fact, and we react on it. And there's no fucking pause in between. Between our thought and what comes out of our mouth. And so in order for us to actually physically start practicing that, I want you guys to take a break. And whenever you see somebody that the way they're talking to you is just not right, and you're about to act up, okay? The thing I'm going to recommend is for you to tell the person that just offended you, or that you are about to tell off, just tell them, if you don't mind, I have to do something right now, but I will come back to you in just a little bit, okay? And whether that's texting, whether that's in person, you can tell people, just give me 5 minutes and I'll come back. Most people will argue with me and tell me, well, Tala, no, they'll come follow me, blah, blah, blah. I hear you. This took time in the making, that they're just used to your impulsive mouth going off. We have to reteach people that you don't want to talk like that anymore. And so to save you from acting in a way you won't like yourself for, and from hurting other people because of that mouth that keeps running, what we need to do is apply that break. We need the break from your thoughts to your mouth. We need that pause to be in there a little bit longer. It does not need to be my thought comes in and then automatically I compulsively start saying some shit I don't want to say. That's not maturity. We need to grow out of that. We need to implement humility and say, I really don't know what I need to do right now and what I'm going to say. So I need to sit back with myself. I need to take a break. And feel free to tell them. If you practice this enough, I promise you, you'll be fine. People will respect it eventually, especially at work. Just tell them, listen, let me just take a break for a little bit and I'll be right back. I need to do something. And I do that often. If I know you're a difficult person, I'll take my break. The breaks have gotten less. I don't have a need for them as much, but they're still there when I need them. Number 2, I need you to sit with yourself and ask yourself, can this person have his or her opinion? Are they allowed to have their opinion? Are they allowed to say whatever they want? And most people will tell you, oh no, they're not allowed to disrespect me. They're not allowed to say whatever, blah, blah, blah. If that ever comes out of your mouth, you are in freaking denial. Let me just wake you the hell up. Yes, they are. Everybody is allowed to say whatever the hell they want. Just because you have free will does not mean that they don't have free will. They have free will too. And they can say and do whatever they can, whatever they want. And you have no control over that. So we don't need to say things that keep us in denial and keep us absolutely rigid. We don't need to say, I can't believe this person said this. I can't believe this person did this. Yes, they did. Yes, they said. And yes, they can. And it's not always about you and what you can control and what you need to tell them about themselves and blah, blah. We don't need to do none of that. Just calm down with yourself and hang back, take the break, and sit and ask yourself, can they say that? And the answer should always be yes. Can they say that? Yes. Can they do that? Yes. I don't need you to say, I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they did that. The hell, they can't. You sure as hell can. If anything teaches you about life's events and life, is that people will do whatever their free will decides for them. Okay? So we don't need to ever say that. Always be in acceptance of the fact that people can. And it's the simplest thing. It really is a good prompt for your brain that when you experience this thought of offense, just take a break, sit with yourself and ask yourself, can they say that? And the answer always should be yes, they can. They can. All right? They can say it. And they did say it. And it's not the end of the world. Your ego and your pride will want to speak for you and say, oh no, they can't say that. They disrespected me. They can't disrespect me. They did. But they did. Like, I don't need you to perpetuate the anger. Just go ahead and hang with yourself. Calm down. Your number 3 is, once you took the break, or even if you don't have a break, go within and ask yourself this very important question. Ask yourself, what do I want from this person that offended me so much? What do I want them to do? Or what do I think that they need to do or need to give me, that if they don't give it to me or don't say it to me or don't validate, that I'm going to lose my mind? You need to know to take responsibility for your own thoughts and feelings. If you're offended, it is because you are doing something within yourself that's offending you internally. Your thoughts are offending you about this person and their intentions. You feel free to go into that neighborhood again of how they think and how they feel, which causes you to stay in offense. It is not good. It's not safe. When a person is perceiving another person as a threat, they are in fact doing all the work. Most of the time, it is not a physical threat, so we know we're creating threats internally. Okay? That's number 3. After I take a break, sit with myself, ask myself, can they? Yes, they can. And then I go to the next step, which is, what is it that I would want from them that would make me lose my mind if I don't get it? And that would be like, I want them to give me respect, or I want them to, like, you have some kind of script in your mind, okay, in which they need to perform, they need to do, and when they don't do it the way you want it done, you're going to lose your mind, basically. You're going to get offended. You're going to be the difficult person that you want to stay away from, that you want to learn how to deal with. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to be that guy. All right, number 4. We want to be able to take responsibility with no excuses. Ah, man, that takes practice, friends, just like all the other steps. When I take responsibility for something, it really makes you humble, and you get the biggest benefit for it emotionally, spiritually. You grow because you're like, oh my God, I can learn my lessons, and I get to learn a lot more lessons than everybody else. The more humble I am, the more lessons I learned, the more I grow. I mean, what's better than that? If that doesn't talk you into humility, I don't know what will. You'll be able to be calm and quiet within because you take responsibility for how you feel. And there are no excuses. If somebody gives you feedback, you're quick to not respond on the offense. Rather, you are hearing what they actually are telling you. And that is something that has to be practiced. Don't think that if you just do it 1 or 2 times or try it and, I've tried it, that doesn't work. Oh no, all this will work if you just practice. Nothing becomes part of your nature until you do it over and over and over. Even if you don't feel like it, you need to keep doing over and over and over again to prove to your brain that you're capable of doing it. Simple as that. Nothing fancy here. I don't need you to believe that you are right or wrong. I just need you to believe that it's possible for you to practice humility and that there's a huge benefit for you. Your brain will take you there if you allow it. I hope that makes sense. So the next step I want you to do, there's 2 more steps and that's it. 35 minutes. I need you to trust that people know when they are wrong. This is a very tricky one for many people. A lot of the times we want to be the lesson that we need to teach them the lesson. We are the lesson that they're going to learn, and we need to make sure that we teach them that lesson. And we will do fancy shit to make that happen. We will argue till the break of dawn. We will send emails. We'll get rough because we want to tell them that they need to learn about themselves. We'll pull in lawsuits. We'll do some fancy stuff just so we can prove the point that they need to learn. So if you're a lesson teacher, please, you just eat some humble pie. You're not anybody's lesson. I'm not anybody's lesson. I promise you that. I have to trust that when I do the right thing, which would mean that I refrain from saying something I'm not going to like myself for, and that's going to be unkind, even if they are unkind to me, okay? Their behavior should not be relevant to how I respond, people. I need to have my own standards and my own set of goals within of what I need to become, which is humble, and they're not involved in that. Okay, so how they behave should not matter of how I respond. I will respond in a kind, gentle way, and I will have to somehow believe and trust, okay, that people are going to learn the lessons. So I've had to deal with people that would yell at me because they were, I don't know what they were, but they were just yelling at me. They seemed very offended, very angry, very frustrated with me. And it was a misunderstanding. And it was beautiful because I allowed myself, I took a break, okay? And then I did what I would tell you to do. I went within. I asked myself, can they say those things? Yes, they can. I did all that before I even went into the situation, which beautifully helped me to sit back, because in the end they had to hear themselves yell. And that's maybe the only way I am involved in teaching any lesson is I allow universe, God, whatever I believe in, to teach whatever this person needs to teach. And I am a tool. I am not the lesson. I am just the tool that I get to be tolerant in front of someone so they can hear themselves and that they can calm themselves down. In no way do I want this person to confirm or validate for me anything. So I've relieved them of that before I even went in there. They don't have to prove anything to me. They don't have to talk to me in any sort of way. I've already admitted in my head that they can say however they want to say whatever it is they want to say. And so I've already accepted that. Okay? So I'm not anybody's lesson to teach. I'm not going to give lectures. I'm not going to make sure that your mom is going to know and your dad is going to know and everybody. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. So let's practice some humility, eat some major humble pie with a cherry and whipped cream on top, and not be the teachers. Be a student. Listen to what the person is saying. Try to understand the feedback that they're trying to give you, even if it's perceived as disrespectful. It's okay. They can. And it's not about me. It's about this person. It's coming out of their mouth. They're the ones feeling this anger and frustration and misunderstanding. I'm not. So I don't need to be convincing of anything. I don't need to convince them of anything. And so that's the good news. And when I feel this way, when I think this way, I am in no danger of arguing back or being defensive. I could just take the feedback with humility and allow them to hear how difficult they are. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm of help and I'm of service when I do that. I'm of assistance when I do that. I'm not trying to be better than them. I'm actually being of help. But when I'm yelling back or trying to prove them wrong or convince them, they're not listening to themselves. They can't hear themselves anymore. I become the problem in their eyes, and I don't want to be a problem. So I know I'm not a problem, so I will not act like a problem. All right. Ooh, we're going on 40 minutes. Gosh, I'm going to have to do part 1, part 2. Maybe. I don't know if I'm going to cut this up. Or I do the 40 minutes and you guys can break this down. All right. The final thing is that I want you to do in practicing this new way of humility is prepare yourself for people before you even meet them. And that takes you back to step 1, which is I need a break. People should not be a shock, especially if you know them. Okay? Prepare yourself for difficult people ahead of time. I need you to visualize how you're going to respond to them. I don't need it to be a shock. I don't need it to be impulsive. If you know you're about to meet a difficult person and they just lose their mind easily, that's cool. You just prepare. You prepare by going back to step 1 and keep doing the steps until you feel calm. Also, things like reading on forgiveness or reading quotes on forgiveness before I go meet somebody who's difficult helps ground me into the goals I want to become as a human being, to make sure that in no way their performance is going to alter how I respond to them and how I'm going to like myself for it later. Okay? So I need you to really be aware of that today. People are not in charge of how you learn and evolve in your journey. You're in charge of it. But know today that if you're looking at a person and you experience them as difficult, and this is a consistent thing with you, right? We need to look and see what those difficult people are pointing out in us. They're just a mirror to show us where we're at when it comes to humility. Do I think and believe that my thoughts are superior? Do I think that my emotions are superior to theirs? My coping skills are better than theirs? What is it that I think? Am I of service when I'm around them? Do I perceive myself worthy, or do I need them to validate my very being? And if they don't agree with me or confirm or validate, I'm going to lose my mind and attempt to convince them, and I'm going to argue with them, and it's going to be the end of the world and do silent treatment or whatever. Just reflect on that. This is an opportunity for us to practice humility, to deal with difficult people for the rest of our lives. There's never going to be a difficult person once you do that. And again, like Dr. Benoit said, our ultimate goal basically is that I begin to see that all negative states basically are humiliations. And up to this point, I have taken steps to give them other names. What I also want to learn from Dr. Benoit is that eventually, once I feel humility, then I don't experience negative states anymore. And I have inner peace anytime I want it. People and situations that are no longer a threat emotionally within. I'm in control of that today. There's a beauty to that, my friends. I'm allowed to grow after that, and the growth is nonstop because I am teachable. I don't get stuck emotionally. I don't do stuff that makes me disrespect myself or hate myself later. I love me and I respect me, and in me doing that, I respect other people and their thoughts and their feelings. There's no superiority here. So it's a good thing to practice. It ain't that bad. I hope this was 44 minutes, okay? Yeah, but I couldn't have done it less. This is really important. I really need you to listen to this. And please listen to it as many times as you like. Listen to it as many times as you like to help talk you out of this need for pride and ego. Once we eliminate the pride and the ego, we are practicing humility. It opens up doors for you like you never thought would happen. I mean, it is an incredible thing. No situation ever becomes a threat. I mean, imagine going to a job interview and being rejected and not thinking that's a threat. Imagine going to your mother-in-law knowing damn well that whatever's going to come out of her mouth is going to be degrading or whatever. And you're like, I already know. It's cool. This is about you, mother-in-law, not about me. And never blaming yourself for stuff that's not yours, but taking responsibility for what is yours. It's a beautiful feeling of control and of serenity and of mood stability. I mean, come on. It takes practice, so be gentle and kind with you as you're learning to do this. It is very important that you practice this consistently. Don't give up. Don't give up until the humility happens. And when it does, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's something else. It's a continuous learning. Whenever you experience a negative state, I want you to be like, all right, there's a lesson in humility. What is it that I need to relinquish control of, surrender, take ownership of? Oh yeah, it's about humility. There will be no more difficult people anymore for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. And I hope that you can break this up in a couple of listens. But I guess I needed to bring it out. It is 46 minutes. Okay, Tala has outdone herself today. I'm with you on this journey. You're not alone. I'm here with you working on the same thing. And when I find out that you're working on that too, it feels good. It feels good that we're all working on those goals. Pride and ego can turn into being of service to someone else. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's what we want. I'm sending you a lot of love and a lot of light. And this has been an episode of Drive-thru.